When it comes to music superstars, they do not get any bigger than John Denver. He has sold more albums than almost any other performer in history. He's up there with Frank Sinatra and Elvis Presley. He has sold, in fact, a staggering total of more than 100 million albums. Now, as a songwriter and a singer, he's had #1 hits and numerous gold records around the world. But he's also, as you'll be well aware, a crooner with a conscience. He has earned international acclaim for his commitment over the years to saving the environment. It's a great pleasure to have him with us today. Please welcome Mr. John Denver. It is always great to have you back in Australia. I guess at times, does it feel like coming home a bit? You spent a fair bit of time here over the years.
It does to me. I love Australia. I love the people. They're awfully nice to me. And flying in today, not only over the harbour, but I recognize the Pittwater up north and Whale Beach and some of my favorite places.
Yeah. Now, I saw that special of you with Ray Martin. You can really fly that plane.
I can fly. My father taught me to fly, and I think I'm a very good pilot. And I love, there's nothing in the world more relaxing to me than flying.
So you can not only sing about the environment and write about the environment, you can get up there in the plane there and see it all for yourself.
And get a good look at it. I have a friend, in fact, who flew the camera plane on the stuff that we did with Ray, who works for what Vice President Gore calls our environmental Air Force, which is Project Lighthawk in Colorado, in the United States.
And what does that do? Just to keep like a watchful eye on the environment and pollution and
to
stuff?
a large degree, it's just what you said. It gives people a little bit different perspective. Quite often clear-cutting. These guys are responsible for finding some places in Central America that are now national parks, and just really good work.
Well, speaking of flying, you are the son of an Air Force officer.
I am, yes, sir.
So you're an Air Force brat.
I'm an Air Force brat.
Touring the world.
Traveled all my life. I was born in New Mexico. My brother was born in Japan. When I started junior high school, once a week after everybody else had started school, I didn't know a single person, and my teacher questioned me as to whether or not I was an American citizen. Those kinds of things.
It must have been hard like that. I mean, because it's awesome starting a new school anyway, but when you haven't got many friends around, it must be hard.
I think it was very, very difficult, but there were also positives to that. You know, I think one of the things that happened for me was the realization and the real belief that people everywhere are the same. And so there was that side of it, but like you say, starting school without knowing a single person, I was very shy, very insecure as a kid, and I think some of that hangs on today and my inability to sometimes say no when I'm being asked to do more than...
like interviews like this one. Yeah, okay. Now,
no, not so much this, but you know, the list of stuff they've had me... The stuff... I've been in a different city every day for the last 17 days.
Your grandma was one of your biggest fans. She gave you your first guitar, right?
She gave me my first guitar when I was 12 years old, and it was a guitar that she had played when she was a child, and evidently I always sang, and so because of that, she had given me this guitar, which at that time became my very best friend. Did
that change things for you at school? I mean, if a kid can play a guitar...
Well, I think so. That first year when I went to Montgomery, Alabama, and not knowing anybody, then what happened, I brought my guitar to school one day and sang some songs in class. And all of a sudden, people started saying hello to me in the halls. I was someone that they knew for one reason or another. I wasn't just another Air Force brat passing through. And so that had a big impact on my life. And then I was in Alabama for a year, then moved to Fort Worth, Texas, where virtually the same thing happened. And I feel that throughout my life, and especially, you know, coming here to Australia, it's my guitar that gave me the opportunity to do that and to make all the friends that I have here now and to have all of the warm feelings that I have about Australia.
Well, your grandma must be pretty special because I'm about your age and we all had a grandma and grandma always had a feather bed.
Well, the grandma that gave me the guitar...
Right, grandma's feather bed. We used to all clamber into grandma's bed.
And the grandma, the feather bed was on my father's side, was the other grandma. And yeah, there were times we'd have, it seemed like 12 or 13 kids in that bed and a couple of dogs and a pig. And...
all of that. Now, you dropped out of college, you ran away to Los Angeles, and that's how you got your start.
Yes, sir. I had to get music either out of my system so I could go to school seriously, or I wanted to find out how far I could go with my music. And I think to agree, that's still what I'm trying to find out.
Yeah. Well, it is ironic, isn't it, that your first really big hit wasn't yours. You wrote it for somebody else. That would be Leaving on a Jet Plane.
Well, I didn't write it for them. I wrote the song in Washington, D.C. The first year I was with the Mitchell Trio. And I had made an album one Christmas. I made 250 copies of this album. A whole bunch of people had heard me sing on my own when the trio, after hours when the trio wasn't working, or opening the show for the trio when one of the guys would show up late, and they said, you know, you ought to do an album of your songs. And so I put that together one year, 250 copies, about 13 songs, and gave it to all of the people that I'd met and to all of my good friends. And I gave a copy each to Peter, Paul, and Mary, and on that album was a song called Oh Babe, I Hate to Go, which they called then Leaving on a Jet Plane.
Yeah. And how old are you then?
I was 21.
21. Yeah. Now, speaking of going back through all those years, you've got your autobiography is out, appropriately called Take Me Home.
Yes.
Was it tough writing parts of it? Because it's pretty honest.
Well, it was cathartic in a sense, yes. And some of it was, oh, I suppose a little difficult or painful to relive, but an enjoyable experience, a time of real reflection, and I think that there are effects from having done this that are still going on. I mean, each time you peel a layer off, in a sense, you get in touch with something a little bit deeper. And the quest to take me home, I think, is something that we all aspire to, home being the real knowledge of who and what we are and why we're here and what all of this is about.
But you're very blunt about the fact that you obviously were a big drinker there for a while. You had a couple of driving charges.
I don't think I drank so much during the time that this book is about. There were times, you know, when there was always some champagne available on the airplane after the concert and like that. But I think the difficulties, or certainly at least when it began to show up like difficulties, that's just in the last couple of years.
And you stopped now?
I've stopped now.
Yeah. I know that you had...
Just in time.
Just in time, you think?
I hope. Well, I hope so.
Well, I know you had a tough time. I suppose it's a testing time for you. You had a tough time with your Australian connection with Cassandra, your wife, and that split must have been painful. I don't want to dwell on it, but it must have been painful for you.
I would say that it was the most painful experience of my life, yes, sir. And I think a part of today and just how the events of the day are perhaps exacerbated has a little bit to do with coming back to, you know, I'm over at the Siebel Townhouse. The last time I stayed there was when Cassandra and I first met. And
I was saying to my producers back off the set a while ago, I said, it must be hard for him because he's come back over here all around Australia. Must be memories and must be testing for you. Well,
that's true, and I don't know. I didn't think it was, and yet there's sure an awful lot of stuff going on today, and it's all being very, very difficult, and maybe that has something to do with it.
Well, let's talk about the good things that came out of it. Is that there was John Denver, who couldn't have children, adopts a couple with Annie, and then you and Cassandra have a daughter.
Little Jessie Bell. I got to see her last night. Last night in L.A. We had dinner together, and God, she's wonderful.
Yeah. Now, tell me about the inspiration for some of your most famous songs. Writing Rocky Mountain High. How did that come
Rocky Mountain High was a camping trip during the period of the Perseid meteor shower, which is August 12th to the 15th every year. And we were camping at a place that I will not name in Colorado, and it was raining fire in the sky. There were, you know, meteorites usually think of that little shooting star, the thing you see a little flash. Oh, did you see that? But these, you know, would come smoking all the way across the sky. You could watch it like that, and it's just, you almost thought you could hear them. And an incredible experience.
Colorado, Rocky Mountain High. I've seen it rain and fire in the sky. The shadow from the starlight is softer than a lullaby. Rocky Mountain High.
It must be interesting when because you've travelled so much, both as a child and now as an entertainer, it must be interesting when you get to exotic places, where you're in Japan or you're in India, and here you've got kids all singing in their own languages, or sometimes in English, singing, say, Country Road.
Well, it's one of the most wonderful things in the world to me, the fact that my music has made friends for me all over the world. And I have yet to go anywhere in the world, Darren, and not be recognized, whether it's a slum in India or a village in Africa or a commune in China. And I consider that an incredible gift and an incredible opportunity.
You know, you're always welcome in Australia. People love you out here.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
And enjoy your tour. This is the autobiography, Take Me Home. It's out now, and you please thank John Denver.